The Kansas City Chiefs have finished up day 14 of training camp, 2 weeks worth of days in the books for the Kansas City Chiefs in St. Joseph, Missouri. And we've got some things to talk about, including the running backs continuing the conversation that we had a couple days ago, and a wide receiver, a new wide receiver to the Kansas City Chiefs who appears to have gone absolutely nuclear. So we will start things off right here with an injury report. Not practicing Thursday, wide receiver Hollywood Brown, wide receiver Rashee Rice, tight end Jake Briningstool, and linebacker Cam Jones. The word on Rashee Rice is it is a groin. Jaleel Brown? Is that who it was? Jaleel Brown has a little groin. Remember that? Does anyone else remember that soundbite from the Romeo Crennel days? But a groin for Rashee Rice. I don't think that it would be anything necessarily to worry about. Certainly, groins can ruin a season, but I don't think that they are as often as nefarious as a hamstring. So it is not one of those. And then just a really nice post from Sports Radio 810 WHB. Film junkie Jeffrey Bassa, one of the first down the hill again this morning. A story coming out on Jeffrey Bassa in the last couple of days, I don't remember exactly which day, where he says he is waiting to be watching film, studying film in the NFL. Very good sign for a guy who hopes to be a coverage linebacker. He said he hopes to be a full roundabout linebacker, but certainly in the pass coverage department, watching film is a good thing. Junkie, a real junkie here, Jeffrey Bassa for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bam Morris, I don't know why there's a picture of Bam Morris in my training camp wrap-up here. You know, one of the things about Bam Morris, his final season in college, absolutely no Heisman hype that I can find. 1,752 yards, 22 touchdowns. That is incredible. 298 carries, 1,752 yards. That is a 4.20 yard average for Texas Tech, home of the Kansas City Chiefs legend. No one has taken the Chiefs as high as Mahomes, and if anyone got close to taking the Kansas City Chiefs as high as Mahomes, it was Bam Morris. Moving on, not practicing Thursday, wide receiver Hollywood Brown. Oh, I double-clicked that one. I apologize. Once again, Jawan Taylor and Jalen Moore rotating with an even split of right tackle reps. Here's the thing here. The more we see this, the less likely it is that this is just Jalen Moore getting swing tackle reps. We have not seen him at all at left tackle. We have seen him extensively at right tackle. We have seen him minutely at left guard. So it is, in my opinion, an open secret that there is a right tackle competition. I think that we are wont to sort of recognize it, to acknowledge it here, because we have been burned so bad in the past with players that probably should not be Kansas City Chiefs or should not be starters for the Kansas City Chiefs that somehow just end up on the field, right? So I think we are hesitant to really acknowledge that this is an open right tackle competition. He's not getting snaps at right guard. He's not getting snaps at center. He's not taking snaps at left tackle. He is taking snaps at left guard and right tackle. Now, obviously, it could be that the Kansas City Chiefs feel those are the areas where they are most prone to injury. But I think that what really is going on here is that they are trying to figure out the right two players out of three for these spots. What will be interesting if we are going into full concession mode here, because we already have Jalen Moore taking snaps at both of those positions, what will be interesting is to see if Kingsley Suamataia gets any snaps at right tackle. So the ultimate irony here, I think yesterday I talked about this, would be if Jalen Moore comes in, just dominates at left guard, looks all pro at left guard, looks like Joe Thuney, never left at left guard. And then all of a sudden, so he starts. All of a sudden, Jawan Taylor has 15 false start penalties on a single drive, and Andy takes him off the field. And Kingsley Suamataia goes out there and looks like a world beater. That would be the ultimate irony along the offensive line. But speaking of Kingsley Suamataia, we get this from Nick Jacobs. Loved seeing the ground Suamataia covered on that quick screen to get to the second level quickly. Now, I get pushback on the whole, why do you want Kingsley Suamataia out there so bad? Kingsley Suamataia is an athlete playing offensive line. He is not an offensive lineman playing an athletic game. He is not more offensive lineman than athlete. Kingsley Suamataia is an athlete at offensive line. I'm not going to say that he looks as smooth as Josh Simmons. I'm not going to make that claim at all. But when you look at the ways that he's able to move, when he gets on the move, he can be dangerous. And I thought that he could be a left tackle. I still think that. I am not 100% in that camp as once I was. But I do think that he can absolutely be a plus level left guard. And the thought of having Kingsley Suamataia, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith in the middle of that line, and then you've got, Kareem Hunt. No short down situation is unconvertible. None of them. And Josh Simmons, we concentrate on his ability as a pass protector, but there are clips of him in college just looking all out nasty in the running game. And when you look, did 34 reps on the bench, was it 31 or 34? I think it was 34 reps on the bench press. That guy is strong. So getting him out there, getting him upfield, along with Kingsley Suamataia, imagine the screen game. You are some hapless safety in the NFL. Brashard Smith just caught a screen, 4.3940. Brashard Smith just caught a screen. And you look up, and Creed Humphrey's coming at you. So you start running. But Trey Smith is right there. So you keep running. And you run into Kingsley Suamataia, and Josh Simmons is right behind him. Just imagine. You were some hapless safety in the NFL looking at that. Then there is a note from Nick Jacobs on a series during the training camp. All run, no pass, just the way football was intended. Nick Jacobs is on that Bam Morris special. Along the offensive line, again, Mike Caliendo showing his quicks in getting into space, second level on the screen. The Chiefs are in an interesting position. The Chiefs appear now to have an excess of offensive tackle talent. Josh Simmons appears to be a true starting left tackle. Jawan Taylor has done well in the NFL at right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Moore is a guy, to his credit, they can't keep off the field. They can't keep him off the field. And I know, well, he's not starting. Well, that's Jawan Taylor's position. It has been for seasons now. It is a miracle with Andy Reid as the coach that they're even splitting reps with Jalen Moore. Andy Reid is an incredibly loyal guy. And then you go to the inside. So you've got 3 offensive tackles in 2 spots. And that's if you're willing to concede that Wanye Morris and Kingsley Suamataia absolutely are not tackles. That's if you think Ethan Driscoll is not going to be a starting tackle level guy. And I can understand that. But then you go to the inside, and they have Kingsley, and I think Kingsley is a plus player. They have Creed, they have Trey, so I think you've got the 3 guys there. But then you have Jalen Moore, who rotates in at left guard. And then you have Mike Caliendo, who has started for you in the past. Then you have C.J. Hansen and Hunter Nourzad, who have been, I think, very impressive second-year guys. They just have a lot of talent, and I'm not saying that they're going to trade anyone, but if I were going to trade anyone, I might start with Mike Caliendo. That's all I'm saying. Moving on to different positions, getting into the wide receivers here. Worthy got the better of McDuffie early in camp, breakout season coming. So you see here, this is not the first time we have seen this training camp. You have Xavier Worthy elevating. I believe the ball might be in his hands. That might be the ball there. But this is Trent McDuffie here. All-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie recovering in the recovery position, looking up at Xavier Worthy snagging a pass out of the air. Let me say that again. This is all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie looking up at Xavier Worthy making a reception in the air. Now, it's one rep, but it's not just one. It's one right here. We have seen this before. And by the way, guys, probably once we get into the meat of the season, once Rashee Rice comes back from his little groin or his suspension, Rashee Rice will be facing other teams' Trent McDuffie. That's where their Trent McDuffie will be, if they have something comparable to a Trent McDuffie. Xavier Worthy is going to be operating largely against cornerback number twos, or where Andy Reid can scheme him. I mean, we saw this last year. We saw Xavier Worthy lining up against safeties. I believe in the Ravens game, there was a couple plays, weren't there, where he was matched up with a linebacker, and that's how some of those things happened. And then after that, it was kind of like, oh, guys, don't do that, right? So we're going to see some of that this year. Mahomes trusting Thornton on the comeback, has it thrown while he's coming out of his break, and has it waiting for him right when he turns. This is trust from a quarterback. It's also timing. It's also impossible to stop. This gets underrated because we underrate it here in Kansas City because we don't really do it, right? It's been a long time since Mahomes really had the guy that was the comeback guy, right? It was Travis Kelce for a while. I think that's it. Thinking of it, I think that's it. Basically, the guy who turns around and the ball is right there. Tyreek was never really that guy. He got him that way sometimes. Sammy Watkins sometimes. He would just turn around and the ball would be there. But Tyreek was more of the just let him run. Mahomes will figure it out guy. So this sort of thing is impossible to stop. Because the moment you overcompensate for it and you say, okay, well, I'm going to hang around real close to him so that the moment I witness him hesitate, I'm jumping the ball. Well, guess what? Well, now it's a pump and go. Pause. Now it's just, I'm going to hitch and go. Boom, boom. And Tyquan Thornton has the speed to absolutely make you pay if you bite on that hitch. So if the hitch route, if the comeback route becomes a go-to with Thornton, he's going to bite people for 60-yard touchdowns this year. Minshew gets the ball out quick. Okay, so here we go. Wide receiver going nuclear. We've talked about Jason Brownlee a few times. And so I just don't know who the Chiefs are going to cut. I don't want to see him cut Jason Brownlee. I don't want to see him cut Nico Remigio. I don't want to see him cut Tyquan Thornton, right? I want to see him cut Sky Moore. But I don't think that he's in danger of making the roster anyway. Juju Smith-Schuster, I just don't know. Again, Juju Smith-Schuster had 231 yards all of last year with the wide receiver problems that the Kansas City Chiefs had. So I think that is worth keeping in mind as you have. I mean, just listen to this next run of tweets and tell me, that's not impressive at all. That's not intriguing at all. If you can tell me after this run of tweets and the number of of times we have seen Jason Brownlee make plays this training camp that it is not at least compelling to wonder what the offense might look like with a Jason Brownlee, but minus a Juju Smith-Schuster, who, by the way, Juju would be at full strength the fourth wide receiver, the fifth wide receiver. Again, I think Juju has a very high floor, brings a very high floor to the wide receiver group, but I think also does not do anything for the ceiling. Listen to this string of tweets and just wonder whether or not this does anything to address the ceiling at the wide receiver position. Minshew gets the ball out quick with pressure off his left side. Brownlee makes a heck of a catch reading back while his legs take him on different directions and he falls backwards. Made the catch, though. Mahomes just tosses up a loft to Brownlee in the end zone. He elevated and made one of the top 5 catches of camp. Minshew, with a fade to Brownlee, gets both feet in against Najee Johnson, a guy who played number 2 corner for a very long time last year. A well-placed ball by Minshew. That is both feet in. That is in a fade route to Brownlee. I don't have how far down the field he was, but Minshew tosses one up to Brownlee again in the back of the end zone. He comes up with the catch by Roland Wallace, but Roland Wallace, I guess, is able to get a hand in while they're falling down to rise the ball out. Brownlee grabs his right arm for a minute and looked injured, but he returned to practice. Brownlee is using the right hand to hold his helmet, standing on the sideline, so it doesn't look like anything serious. But you had him here against another guy who played hundreds of defensive reps for the Kansas City Chiefs last year, and he ultimately broke the pass up, but it was there to be had. I think that with experience, you start making those catches. Right? I think that is an experience thing. So here is Jason Brownlee. And when they say he elevated, here's what that means. He's 6'2" with 33 3/4 inch arms. And he has a 39.5 inch vert. Guys, Juju doesn't have those numbers. Now, he runs a 4.59 40. I believe Juju was a 4.52 40-yard dash coming out of college. Might have been slower than that because I remember there was ruckus about his 40-yard dash, but I don't remember if it was the full 40 or if it was a 10-yard split. Anyway, Juju Smith-Schuster does not have this type of athleticism. And I do not mean that as a knock on Juju. Juju has made a great career for himself in the NFL. Juju Smith-Schuster would do wonders to raise the floor for this wide receiver group. Juju Smith-Schuster does not address the ceiling in the same way that a 6'2" receiver with 34-inch arms and a 39.5-inch vertical addresses the ceiling for this group. If you want like the real testament to how freakishly athletic he is in some ways, look at how terrible his 40-yard dash was, 4.66 out of 10, and how terrible his short shuttle was, 4.62 out of 10, and he still ended up with nearly a 9 RAS score overall, 8.92. Jason Brownlee is underrated. Jason Brownlee is a guy who has done this in the past, in the preseason. He was a preseason warrior for the Jets a couple years ago. And I don't care. I want to see Jason Brownlee get opportunities in the preseason, figure out if he can translate it into a game situation. And if that translation looks better than what you're getting from Juju Smith-Schuster, I say you have to take the upside. You have Worthy, you have Rice, you have Hollywood, assuming that you put him in some bubble wrap on the way to the stadium. You have all sorts of guys who should keep a fairly high floor on this offense. So address the ceiling, address the situational football. Is Jason Brownlee going to help you on 2nd and 8 at your own 45? Maybe not as much. Is Jason Brownlee going to help you where you have traditionally struggled with, for some reason, with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback in the red zone? Yeah, I'd say this guy is a pretty decent target in the back corner of the end zone, something that Patrick Mahomes has never played with in his entire career. Deion Bush rotates to single high. Minshew takes advantage with a nice loft to Wiley on the corner route. Now we're on to tight ends. That is Jared Wiley there. Here is Jared Wiley here. Minshew on the bootleg toss back to Wiley. He makes the catch. Noel Williams is right there to meet him with a thud. Good to see that Jared Wiley took a thud, and we did not hear about him leaving practice. So I talk about Jared Wiley a lot, and that seems unwarranted, right? He didn't do anything as a rookie, and it's not like he was injured week 8, I believe, something like that. It's not like he was injured week 1. He had the time to make an impact as a rookie. The Chiefs needed him to make an impact as a rookie because they didn't have any wide receivers. Didn't happen. Why do I talk about Jared Wiley so much? Here is why. 6'6" and 1/10, 249 pounds, not heavy, but in today's NFL, that is more and more looking like a tight end's weight. 249, 250. 37-inch vertical. At 6'6" with 33.25-inch arms, he has a 37-inch vertical, a 9'10" broad jump, a 4.62 40-yard dash, a 2.65 20-yard split, and a 1.60 10-yard split. All of those rank in the 9s. All of those score over 9 out of 10. A 4.52 short shuttle is a poor score, but I don't think it's all that out of the ordinary. A 7.19 3-cone drill scores a 6.3. So allow me to adjust things just a little bit. So this is Jared Wiley, 9.3 overall score. Here's Travis Kelce, 9.29 overall score. 9.3, 9.29. Okay, so, but what does that mean? 6'6" and 1/10 for Jared Wiley. 6'4" and 7/10 for Travis Kelce. Advantage, Wiley. Weight 249, weight 255. Advantage, Kelce by 6 pounds. Vertical for Kelce, 35 inches. 37 for Wiley. Even in the vertical, Jared Wiley takes the cake. 9'10" broad jump for Wiley, 10'4" for Kelce. That is a meaningful difference. But 4.62 40-yard dash for Jared Wiley, 4.61 for Travis Kelce. It's the same 40-yard dash. However, 2.65 20-yard split for Jared Wiley, 2.72 for Kelce. 20 yards. I often talk about the 10-yard split. The 20-yard split's kind of weird to me. Where it matters is that's the intermediate passing game. 15, 20 yards downfield, that's the intermediate passing game. If you can open that up, it opens up the short game. It opens up the long game. So I think that a lot of times the certain aspects of the offense, if you can get the deep game working, deep bombs to Tyquan Thornton, really the place where that helps you most is in the running game. If you can get the running game going, really the place that kind of helps you the most is in the intermediate passing game. There's kind of like one area where one strength helps you out, but the intermediate passing game opens up everything because then the defense doesn't know how to compensate. They can overcompensate one place. It's not going to do anything for them. Short shuttle, 4.52 for Wiley, 4.42 for Kelce. Big advantage to Kelce, but neither of them are particularly good times. 7.19 3-cone drill for Wiley, 7.09 for Kelce. These are very similar athletes. That is why I spend so much time hoping Jared Wiley is returning to the Kansas City Chiefs full strength and will make his presence known. Oladokin with a high loft on the screen to Brashard Smith. He makes a great one-hand grab, accelerates, sets his blocks up, and cuts back after the over pursuit for a quick 20-yard touchdown. That is a great sign because it says he has the vision, right? He's making that one cut 20 yards downfield or several yards downfield for a touchdown. Mahomes times inside the 5. He lets 3 routes clear, then sidearms to Pacheco for the walk-in touchdown. That's a timing route. Mahomes with the rollout right and toss back left to Pacheco. Hicks waiting right there for contact. We are seeing more and more of this passing game to the running backs for the Kansas City Chiefs. A couple days ago, I believe this was day 12 of training camp. Maybe it was yesterday. I can't remember. This is all blurring together for me now. I made an observation about which I have to make an entire video at some point. That is how stark and stunning this observation is. In 2018, Kareem Hunt had an extreme receiving season for a running back. He had 400 some odd yards and I believe 7 touchdowns receiving. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes also won the MVP that year. 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. I think they were one bad play from one now gone defensive end from winning the Super Bowl that season. 2022, Jerick McKinnon, another running back, had a very good receiving season. 512 yards, I believe, 9 receiving touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP. The Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs can get a running back, let alone several, if the Chiefs can get a running back cooking in the receiving game, then everything else falls into place. And everything else is so much more difficult to stop. And Patrick Mahomes becomes the NFL MVP. And then we have some defensive notes. This comes to us from Matt Derrick. He says, linebacker Cooper McDonald just made a diving interception off a Gardner Minshew off a low pass intended toward running back Elijah Mitchell. Got up and started returning. Mahomes came off the sideline to chase him. McDonald is my UDFA linebacker sleeper for the 53. This is looking more and more likely. I get a little bit caught up, especially with the UDFAs, in the RAS sort of what kind of athlete is he mumbo jumbo, and I was hoping for Brandon George, who is a 9.99 score out of 10, super athlete kind of guy, because I think that's the type of athlete that you want out there on special teams, but especially right now probably doesn't offer any upside as a linebacker, probably needs a little bit of coaching before he gets there, and Cooper McDonald might not. So Brandon George might slip through the waivers and end up on your practice squad for the whole year. Cooper McDonald might be one of these guys that shows enough in training or in preseason games that he does not slip through the cracks there. But while we are on the role of comparing Chiefs to Chiefs, we have looked at Jared Wiley versus Travis Kelce. We have looked at Jeffrey Bossa versus Byron Morris. Here's Cooper McDonald. 6.37 overall RAS, 6'2" and 2/10, 235 pounds, 21 reps on the bench press. All of those are yellow numbers, sort of right in the middle of the range there. Then you have a 33-inch vertical leap, which is a decent number for a linebacker. Nothing great, but decent. A 9'1" broad jump, which is a 1.68. You will notice that where Cooper McDonald falls short, he's not just kind of bad. He's very bad. A 1.68 out of 10 score there, but good speed numbers. He a 4.46 40-yard dash, a 2.7 120-yard split, a 1.55 10-yard split, scores 9.66 out of 10. That is a great 10-yard split for Cooper McDonald. A 4.60 short shuttle drill, which scores a 1.49 out of 10. No twos, no threes, no fours, no 1.5 on the whole deal. He's got a couple 1 points, 1 point somethings, and a 7.19 3-cone drill scores a 6.09. Not good, right? A lot of this stuff not great. 6.37 overall, not a super athlete at the linebacker position. I was too fast to write him off. Here's Nick Bolton, a 4.6. 6.37 for Cooper McDonald, 4.6 for Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton at 5'11" and 1/10 scores a 0.83 out of 10. Interestingly, Nick Bolton, 31 and 7/8 inch arms versus 31-inch arms for the guy that is 3 inches taller. He also has much larger hands than Cooper McDonald. 237 pounds for Nick Bolton, 235 for Cooper McDonald, 24 reps for Nick Bolton, 21 for Cooper McDonald, 32-inch vert for Nick Bolton, 33 for Cooper McDonald. 9-foot 1-inch broad jump for Cooper McDonald, 9-foot 7-inch for Nick Bolton. A 4.6 flat 40 for Nick Bolton, a 4.66 for Cooper McDonald. These athletes are very similar, fairly broadly across the board. 4.6 220-yard split for Nick Bolton, 2.71 for Cooper McDonald, a 1.55 10-yard split for Cooper McDonald, a 1.71 for Nick Bolton. 4.5 short shuttle for hit stick Nick, 4.6 for Cooper McDonald, 7.4 3-cone drill for hit stick Nick, 7.19 for Cooper McDonald. Then we have, did I get that? Oh, wow, I put this in the way wrong spot here. Mahomes gets them on the – did I get that? I apologize for this. This will only be momentary. No, I did not. I just got it in the wrong place. So I was going to put this note last. It's going to pop up right in the middle of the defensive notes for no reason at all whatsoever. Mahomes gets them on a hard knock. Free play, and he lofts it up one play to Worthy, I'm assuming that's Worthy, on a go for the 25-yard plus touchdown. I don't believe that it is any coincidence that earlier in his career, Mahomes had a whole lot of plays, deep passing plays off of free plays, getting them to jump off sides. Adding this to the offense is a very dangerous thing for the offense because, one, hey, every once in a while, Patrick Mahomes just getting to rev up and let her go, that can mean 7 no matter where you are on the field, right? So that's a very dangerous place for the defense to be. Number 2, if you have to play with the discipline not to jump off sides when Patrick Mahomes throws a hard count on you, then you are going to lose a half step every pass rush. Every pass rush, you're going to have to go off the ball. You're not going to be listening for the tone in Mahomes' voice. You're not going to be trying to time it. You're going to be watching Creed Humphries' hand, which buys the offense a half tick in the passing game. So, what's happened to that? Why did Mahomes stop getting all of these free plays all the time and being able to chuck it deep to Tyreek Hill? Why did that go away? It's not like Mahomes forgot how to scream, right? Blue for hut. You still hear that 50 times a game. Why did that go away? Well, the answer is Juwan Taylor. Juwan Taylor started going off sides way more than the defense. So if they think that he has the discipline this year, or maybe his knee is healthy enough this year that Mahomes can go back to the hard count, then I think that is a very underrated way to open up the offense, because that's something that affects every play on the defense. That is something that if you've got 51 snaps in a game, that affects 51 snaps in a game, because the defense knows I will jump off sides. If I'm just going on vibes, I'm toast, and that could mean 7 regardless of where we are. So if Juwan Taylor gets it under control, maybe that comes back as a wrinkle in the offense. Chiefs defensive tackle Fabian Levette just headed over to the medical tent. Athletic trainers looking at his right foot lower leg, and just a couple minutes later, Matt Derrick tweets out, Lovett is back on the field. I have very high hopes for Lovett. Defensive tackle out of Florida State, Fabian Lovett, however it is you want to intonate. This is a defensive tackle that I think has the potential to be very good for the Chiefs against the run. Was a run stuffer at Florida State. I think could be the player they thought they were getting with Derek Noddy, but Derek Noddy was a third-round pick. Fabian Levette was a UDFA. He goes 6'3" and 7/10, basically 6'4" tall, 316 pounds, with 35.5-inch arms. 35.5-inch arms, 10 3/8-inch hands, those 26 bench press reps. That's a decent number, right? That is a decent number for defensive tackles. It scores 6.42 out of 10. But the thing about the bench press, you don't get to just, I'm doing the bench press reps. You have to lock out. Fabian Levette locked out 225 pounds at the end of 35.5-inch arms 26 times. That's basically a mile of movement. That's a mile and a half of movement. A 25.5-inch vert, not great. An 8'5" broad jump, not great. You're not looking for explosiveness out of Fabian Levette. He is not a pass rusher. He is there to stop the run. 5:01 40-yard dash, pretty good number. A 2.92 20-yard split, pretty good number. A 1.75 10-yard split, pretty good number. Short shuttle of 4.82, a 3.1 out of 10, not a good number. 3-cone drill of 7.58, that is a pretty good number. I think that Fabian Levette has the potential to be a good defensive tackle in the NFL. Not a defensive tackle in the NFL, a good defensive tackle in the NFL. He spent all of last year with the Kansas City Chiefs on the practice squad. I was hoping this would be the year that he really sort of broke out, and we have not seen that yet. Hopefully, we do. That is all I have for this day 14 of the Kansas City Chiefs training camp. There are different playlists on the screen right now, and one video that YouTube has picked out that they think you might want to watch from this channel. As always, I hope to have you back for the next one.